Okay, so you've heard me talk about fish habitat a number of times in my video, and if you're wondering what that's all about, I'm here to talk to you about why it's important and what it is. Fish habitat is essentially two things to a fish. It's a place to rest and hide, and it's a place to get a feed. When you go out west in those muddy rivers, you're chasing big cod and yellowbelly, they're hiding underneath all that fallen timber structure, and that's their habitat. Now, saltwater environment's no different. There's tons of habitat for fish. It's not always as obvious that it's important to fish, but we'll talk about that here and now. So there are essentially 5 different types of fish habitat. Firstly, we've got oyster reefs, got mangroves, we've got seagrass, we've got salt marsh, and we've got riparian zone. So those last two don't exactly form like an intuitive narrative as to why that's important for fish, but I'll go through some of that now. So mangroves, as we all know, host tons of fish. I probably won't spend any time on it at all, because if you haven't fished a mangrove, go and do it. Low tide, running out, flathead, just waiting for a feed. Also rising tide, fish waiting to get up on the mangrove flat up the back, try and intercept them before they have enough water to do so. Seagrass, tons of different types of seagrass. There's lots of really important reasons that seagrass mean a lot to the fish, but that's probably a subject of another discussion. Oyster reef. I love fishing oyster reef for big bream. That's just where I find them. Cranking shallow running hard bodies over oyster reef is tons of fun. There's also a lot of big flathead that like to hang around there too. Salt marsh. So this is one of the trickier ones. Salt marsh, when you look at it, you think, not much about it really. It doesn't look like fish habitat. What would it mean to a fish? Well, it means a lot to a little fish called the glassfish. Now, the fish that we target recreationally, they depend on, 70% of them depend on glassfish in their diet at one stage in their life. So in order for our fish to go from small to big, they need to eat glassfish. And if they don't have access to them, then there are just less bigger fish around. And again, as I mentioned, glassfish love salt marsh. If there's not much salt marsh, there aren't many glassfish. That last bit of habitat that I want to talk about is riparian zone. Riparian zone is kind of just a fancy word for trees, bushes and grass up against the water. Provides shade and food for fish that eat the bugs falling off them. Also protection from birds and stuff like that. So yeah, a number of important reasons that all that vegetation along the water's edge is good for our fish. Okay, next thing, where is it? So luckily, we've got this map here, the Estuary Habitat Dashboard. It's a dashboard that includes all the coastal rivers across New South Wales. What kind of habitat is there? You can toggle to see how that habitat's changed over time, and it can help you identify what fish you want to catch in what parts of the river at what time of the tide and under what conditions. So it's a super important map for you to do a bit of pre-planning to target those bigger fish. Okay, so here's the estuarine map that I was talking about before. So it's called the Habitat Dashboard. As you can see on the right hand side down here, you've got all these different seagrass species, and then you've got mangrove, salt marsh. I noticed that this right hand side of the barely turns up at all, so don't worry too much about it. Unfortunately, not going to get a lot from it. Left side here, so you've got the region. There are 4 regions, and funnily enough, that's actually where I grew up. Okay, so we'll jump to North Coast, which is where I am now. And underneath that, once you make that selection, you've got all the rivers from north to south, so it's ordered north to south. You've got Hastings River, which is where I am, and it'll take you straight there, so you don't have to go and find it. Okay, so underneath the Hastings River, there are 4 years that they've captured data for: 1983, 2005, 2011, and 2021. The 1983 data, I did speak to these guys, and they said that the 1983 data was collected in a specific way. It didn't really capture the level of detail they did from 2005 onwards. So anything from 2005 it's generally pretty accurate. Essentially, in our river, there's 3 types of habitat that's listed on this map. What's more interesting is the change. Sometimes if you can see Zostra, which is the dominant seagrass in our region, if you see them shrinking away, could be a water quality issue, whether it's contaminants or turbidity. So it's a bit of a canary in the coal mine in that you know that it might not be the best place to cast a line, because if the Zostra's not doing well and it's shrinking away, then the environmental conditions are impacting the seagrass, and they're probably going to impact the fish. So you generally want to stay away from areas where seagrass is shrinking, or mangroves are shrinking, or salt marsh shrinking. Salt marsh and mangrove they're usually a lot more stable in terms of the density change over time, but you'll notice the Zostra. So let's have a look. This is Big Bay in Port Macquarie. So if we're in 2005 now, let's have a look what happens. 2011, shrunk away, and then 2021. So you can see that Zostra really not doing too well. Look, note that there's been a few floods as well during these time periods. Zostra should come back in a couple of years, back to their original size, all else remaining equal. So as long as the river conditions are good, Zostra are more than capable of coming back after big floods. That's, they're used to big floods, but what they're not used to is, continual sedimentation, continual contaminants. That's the stuff that does them in. So anyway, I used to fish Big Bay quite a lot. I don't fish Big Bay anymore. And to be honest, it wasn't because of this map. It was because I stopped catching fish there. So when I jumped onto this map and I saw the places that I had fished and how the fishing sort of quality has changed, it was sort of it was pretty intuitive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we've got the Zostra, as I mentioned. The dark green stuff here is mangrove, and that gross colour there, that's salt marsh. So again, it's handy to know where salt marsh is, because it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb when you're on the water necessarily, but it's a good place to fish. So keep it in mind. So if you're on a new system and you come around here, this means higher productivity. It means glass fish mean big fish. So you'll notice that there's a little river that runs through here, and if you're not loving this street map, just jump over to photo base map, and now you can actually see where the water's running, how wide the river is, all that kind of stuff. If you're sort of getting caught up in all this layering, just take it off. So have a look. So again, all this is salt marsh. When the water gets nice and high, floods into it, highly productive area. Look, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty basic tool, but if you're going to new water, it's a good place to start. And it's a good place just to check on the health of your river. Like if you're seeing, mangrove, or you think you've seen mangrove disappear, or, your seagrass sort of shrinking away, it's a good place to go on and check and see what the long-term observations are of how your seagrass is doing. Then this is a good tool for that. So again, 2005, 2011, near gone, and 2021. I will say, I've fished this quite a bit. It's actually in one of my videos. That's probably a fair assessment. There's about nothing there now. Hopefully those tools are going to help you in your angling adventures. Now, I've got a bit of an ask for you. I want you to jump online and find your local Ozfish chapter, or any other organisation that supports river restoration on the places you fish. It's important because habitat restoration opportunities are numerous. There are plenty of opportunities that could strengthen our rivers, which means that you're strengthening our fisheries. And that's important. It's important to me because I've got kids and I'm going to leave that river behind for them. I want them to have the same, if not better, angling experiences on my Hastings River because I did something about it when I was around. Look, it's not going to change the world. It's just one person getting down in their river, repairing a bit of lost habitat so the fishing is a little better in that spot. But at the end of the day, if I can leave a small legacy on my river for my kids, mate, that's what it's all about. Anyway, I hope that's given you a few tools and maybe motivated you to think about what you can do to improve the health of your river and ensure that the future generations that you leave behind are going to have awesome angling opportunities, the stuff that we could only dream of. All right, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the water.